they're like, hey, I'm losing a few $100s a month, and it cost everybody wants a heated pool, so that cost me $600 a month during the summer just to heat the thing, plus all my other utilities. Like, this doesn't really pencil out,
Yep.
So we'll probably see a lot of them hold on with the speculation of getting huge numbers through the Super Bowl and the Waste Management Open.
Yep.
But after that, I might really be a frenzy on some of that stuff.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Break It Down with Braydon. Today I got Ryan Mandley on with me today. Ryan, thanks for joining.
Thanks for having me, man. Good to see you.
Absolutely. Yeah, Ryan and I have known each other for probably 10 years, maybe even longer. Back in when I was in the mortgage biz, he was actually in the title biz, and then we kind of flipped roles a little bit, and Ryan jumped into the mortgage role, I jumped into the title role, so it's kind of funny.
I know, opposite sides of the table here,
Yep.
but here we are, right?
Here we go, yeah. Ryan's with AFN, American Financial Network.
Correct.
Been with them for
8 or 9 years now, so
Okay.
seen a lot of crazy stuff, a lot of crazy stuff happening right now, so it's
give
an interesting
everyone
time.
give everyone a little background of yourself, kind of how you got into the business, and
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I first got in the real estate industry, kind of fell into it right out of college. So I first started originating in, essentially 2001.
Okay.
And back then I started working for subprime lenders, and, we were charging 8-9% with 5 points on every single deal, So I didn't know any better. And, apparently that was expensive and a lot of cost to a deal. But it's kind of come full circle now with the rates, but we can kind of go into that. But yeah, originated for like 4 or 5 years, ended up getting in kind of the home warranty industry, title industry, and then, my passion was originally back doing loans. So I've been on that end of things for the last 8-9 years now, and it's been a pretty crazy ride. So I've kind of seen it all.
Love it. How did you end up at AFN?
Actually moved over with a buddy of mine, and we were originally kind of branch partners. He went off on his own, and then I kind of, partnered on another branch, and, there's been 3 or 4 of us that created a pretty large team over the last couple of years, and, did some crazy numbers. I think last couple of years we funded around $500 million in volume, so pushed a lot of loans through, helped a lot of people buy houses and refinance and take advantage of the free money that was available the last couple of years in the 2s and 3s,
Yep.
So all those guys that wanted to wait and be like, wait till the rates drop when you're at 2.5, 2 3/4. I'm like, hey, I don't know what to tell you now. So,
Right.
But yeah, I know here we are, and it's been a wild ride. A lot of craziness going on right now. So,
Why AFN?
that's a cool company. We always are highly recruited, and we've always been one of the few companies that can bank and broker at the same time. So it's usually this big debate on if I should go to the broker world or should go to the banker world. But we kind of have the best of everything. So we can, fund our own loans, but we also have the ability to broker to Rocket Mortgage or any of the other non-QM lenders to do the bank statement loans and the DSCR loans and all those type of things too. So pretty much can do everything. If there's very few loans that we can't do. Yeah.
How do they differentiate between other mortgage companies, I guess? What's kind of your...
I mean,
you just named a bunch. But.
Yeah, we just essentially built out our own little mini bank. So we have our own underwriters, doctors, funders, processors. We can control the whole process. I mean, we can close as fast as 7 to 10 days if we need to. So being able to issue pre-qualifications with certainty, there's nothing worse than having someone get under contract and then not be able to close a loan, and that doesn't go very far with your name or your reputation.
No,
so
it's not.
has enabled us to really capitalize on the purchase business. And, we've learned a lot, and we've been through a lot of scenarios and done a lot of volume. So it was a good spot to be over the last couple of years when, loans were falling out of the sky.
Yep.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about your team. I know you mentioned you got a pretty big team now that you guys have grown over the years.
Yep. So we have, I have, I think 3 or 4 full-time loan officers on my team. We have, 15, 20 loan officers in the branch, and then a couple underwriters, doctors, funders, processors, all that team in place. So as efficient as we can be, and we're all, kind of holding on and watching this wild ride go down right now.
Yep. You've obviously been in the real estate market for a long time. How does it differentiate between today's market and when you kind of got into it?
Right. So as I kind of mentioned, like a lot of the newer loan officers, they're like 6% rate, 7% rate, 8% rate. What is this? I don't even know what to do. And whenever they're talking to their clients or customers, they're like, your rate's, 6.5 or 7. And I'm like, you guys, like, 7%'s the average rate that it's been over the last 50 years, so it's not a big deal. We've been here before.
Right.
It did creep from, 3% to, I just saw right now we're probably looking in the, low to mid 7s on a 30-year fixed in about 6 or 7 months. So that was a huge spike and a shock factor. But, slowing down and taking the time to educate people on, hey, this is what happens historically. There's a lot of opportunity in today's market that you guys have been waiting for the last couple of years.
Yep.
And just, educating the customer on, hey, they'll come down at some point and we can refinance you. And, you're still in your house at whatever discount you negotiated versus, 6 months ago.
Yep. Yeah, I had somebody send me an article the other day actually talked about how Fannie Mae was projecting that rates will go back down at, I forget what it was, but end of 2023 or beginning of 2024 or something like that, and they predicted it to go back into the 4s or whatever.
Right.
So the fact that Fannie Mae was saying that, it's like, okay, the world's not coming to an end, guys. Like,
exactly.
This market will come back.
Exactly. So, I think the people that are educating themselves, not paying attention to everything they see on the news and then talking to the local experts are having an opportunity to get into properties right now at a great price. 6-8 months ago, everyone's complaining, oh, there's no inventory and it's multiple offer situation and I'm waiving my, inspection and appraisal and I'm paying $100,000 over and I'm just slinging offers everywhere. I hope I get something and I don't even really like this place, but I just feel like I need to buy a house because everyone has one. To the time now, like, hey, there's some inventory out there, sellers are negotiating. They're, giving you money to buy down your interest rates. Yep. They're giving you money to cover closing costs. They're doing price reductions. They're catering to you. It's like, what are you going to complain about now? Their rates have gone up a little bit, but, there's ways to buy your interest rate down and do some other creative financing where you can kind of offset a little bit of cost, get into the property at a huge discount versus 8 months ago. And then when the rates do chill, go ahead and refinance. But I agree with you. They're saying, beginning of 2003-ish, beginning to mid-2003, they could be down into the 4s again, which is going to spur a huge buying spree again, a huge refinance, spree again. And all those people are like, oh, I was going to wait. Now they're back in the same spot they were, before.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like we're going to go back into the multiple offer situation the second the rates go back down.
Right.
Nothing else has changed, at least in my perspective, other than interest rates. And so that seems to be what's driving the market today is, there's just not as many people that are willing to take a little bit higher of a rate right now for whatever reason. And, obviously it costs more.
Right.
But like you said, there's going to be an opportunity where they're going to be able to refinance, and the difference that they're making or paying right now in the sales price seems to make up for the difference they're paying on a monthly basis. But
totally. And the higher interest is a tax deduction anyways. There's a lot of different ways to look at it, and you're, like I said, able to negotiate, but your rent's not going anywhere, right?
Yep.
They're not dropping rents like crazy.
Right. No, it seems like if anything, rents are going up now because interest rates are going up, and so it's becoming less affordable to buy.
It's more
a
of
house,
a squeeze. Like, hey, it's going to cost you this much to buy. Now we're going to make it, feel the pain over here, right?
Yep.
So it's definitely an interesting time. I think a lot of it has to do with the markets that you're in as well. Phoenix area, Arizona's got a lot of people that are moving in here. There's a lot of job creation. I think those are the things you got to really pay attention to, a lot of the migration patterns of where people are leaving and where they're coming to, and obviously Phoenix is one of the, more tax-friendly states. And there's a lot of opportunity here, and, minus 3 or 4 months in the summer, it's an amazing place to be.
Yep. Well, and I think, too, Arizona is such a big secondary market as well.
Right.
And they made a lot of, as you know better than I would, but they made a lot of lending changes in terms of second home financing, right?
Right.
So I feel like that plays a big factor of people not being able to qualify necessarily as easily for a second home here.
Right.
Buying the Airbnb that was going to be their second home and really they're, rent it out or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like a lot of that has gone away. And
for sure, I think we're going to see some of the biggest opportunities with people that, bought Airbnb. So, I remember back in the day before the huge market crash, which were nothing in that situation. People were doing crazy loans, 100% financing on 10 different places, and they're a Starbucks barista. So I remember just like probably late 2005, 2006, hearing baristas saying, oh, I'm buying 2 or 3 or 4 rental properties. And I'm like, all right, this doesn't really add up. I know you can't afford all that. So now you're hearing the barista talk about how they're buying Airbnbs and these other things, So I'm just like, a lot of people are running their numbers based on speculation and projections on if they're running, 80, 90, 100% occupancy rates on these inflated Airbnb rental rates. But if they're not getting it, doesn't pencil for a typical, long-term rental. So they're going to be like, uh-oh. I think they're going to start dumping a lot of those, the people that don't know what they're doing. So,
Yep.
and there's a lot of investors that are speculation on, buying just because the market's on the way up and we're just going to flip everything, but they're kind of getting caught with their pants down right now too. So those are great opportunities for buyers to come in and, finish up those rehabs or take over those, Airbnbs and, live in them or use them as long-term rentals.
Right. Yeah, especially within the last year with them, there's so many multiple offer situations where people are bidding $100,000 over the asking price or whatever. And obviously now when the market's shifted a little bit in that regard, like those people are the only ones that are really like, oh, did I make a good buy or not?
Yeah. They're like, hey, I'm losing a few $100s a month. And, it cost, everybody wants a heated pool. So that cost me $600 a month during the summer just to heat the thing, plus all my other utilities. Like this doesn't really pencil out, Yep. So we'll probably see a lot of them hold on with the speculation of getting huge numbers through the Super Bowl and the Waste Management Open.
Yep.
But after that, I might really be a frenzy on some of that stuff.
I was telling the wife the other day, I'm like, we might have to put our property up for Super Bowl and Waste Management. She's like, where the hell are we going to stay? I'm like, we'll figure that out.
Yeah,
if we could pay our mortgage for 5 months or whatever. That's
take a little vacation, I know.
Right.
I've considered it. I have a place up in Heber, so I was like, I could just go move up there for a couple weeks and rent that thing out. But
that's a good idea. Actually, I got a bunch of friends with like Northern Arizona places.
Yeah.
Just go up there for the week.
Watch the Super Bowl up there,
Right. That sounds like a good idea.
For sure. But yeah, I mean, it's a super interesting time. A lot of these investors, wholesalers, those guys are all getting, smashed. Like they just tie up properties at not really a discount, just based on speculation of appreciation. But a lot of those guys are getting out of the market, So, when there's blood in the streets is when, you should be striking and not doing what everyone else is doing. So, me personally, I'm buying all kinds of properties. I have probably 8 under contract right now, and I'm like rehabbing a couple of them. So,
okay. Yeah, because you started your own wholesale kind of side as well, right?
Yeah, real estate investment company. So over the last couple of years, did really well, and I went through the last shebang where everyone lived beyond their means, and then all that money stopped. So I was pretty frugal over the last couple of years and saved a lot of my money, and worked with my business coach. I'm like, what should I do now? I can't just have this money sitting in the bank and earning no interest. He's like, all right, well, here's what you're going to do. Start, kind of your own little real estate investment company to cherry pick, deals for yourself and create, long-term, passive cash flow.
Yep.
So essentially just started, he's like, hey, just start sending out mailers and stuff. So I just pulled a list of my, kind of avatar of what I was looking to acquire, lower end, rural area, affordable housing.
Yep.
Started sending mailers out and started getting phone calls. My first deal was actually a land deal. He didn't want to sell his house, but he had a piece of land, and he's like, yeah, I have this lot for sale. It's got an acre lot. It's got septic, electricity, water, everything to the property. And he's like, I don't want to deal with it anymore. I'm paying, tax on it. And I'm like, well, what do you want for it? He's like, make me an offer. And I'm like, I don't know, $2,000. And he's like, no, I said, I don't know, $1,000. He's like, no. He's like, I need at least 2. I'm like, so I'm like, okay. So I'm like just figuring all this stuff out. So the whole goal is to buy something at a very deep discount and then list it at full retail and then offer seller financing and capture the note or paper on it and play the bank.
Yep.
So I'm like, okay. So take this thing down at $2,000. I list it on Facebook Marketplace, and I am just getting blown up. My phone's just like bzz, bzz, bzz. I'm like, holy cow. And I threw it up for $25,000 with $5,000 down. So I'm like, this is crazy. So I mean, I had that thing sold within like a week or two. So I bought it for 2. I sold it for 25 with $5,000 down. So I got all my money back.
Yep.
And then carried a note on it for $20,000 at 10% interest for the next 10 years.
Hell yeah.
So I'm like, wow, this is pretty cool.
All right.
So my coach is like, yeah, I told you, now just do this 1,000 times,
Yep.
So
That's wild. So literally the 2% or the $2,000 investment you made, you were making that annually on the interest.
Exactly.
That's incredible.
I got I got like almost minus closing costs. I got probably $2,000 back after my investment. Now I'm getting, $300 a month for the next 10 years.
Yeah.
Secured by real estate. So I'm like, this is great. And then you just have a service or collect your payments and just kind of set it up. So since then, I'm like, all right, I'm just going to do as many of these as I possibly can. So I have about 8.
Where was that piece of land?
It was in Mojave County.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So right now I have like 7 or 8 under contract out there. Since then I've captured like 7 notes. So I have 7 of those rolling now, you know, all over the map. So it's just trying to build your, passive income to be greater than your living expenses. Then you're essentially free,
Yeah.
So But we're getting huge returns, 70, 80, 90, 100% on our money, I got just bought one the other day. I bought it for $17,000. I actually bought it in my self-directed Roth IRA, so this thing will grow tax-free for the rest of my life once I capture it in there. But I bought it for $17,000. I had to evict a tenant out of there. It was a landlord nightmare. He wasn't getting paid. He was just tired of dealing with it. He's like, "You take it over." So I had to kick her out. She left all of her stuff in there, so I had to get all that stuff cleaned out. So all in about $20,000 into the place. I listed it for $69,900 and I was requesting $15K down. Multiple offers under contract in the first weekend. This one just closed a couple of weeks ago. So I got $15K down. So I captured a note for what is that? Around $50,000, $55,000 at 10% interest for the next 30 years. So there's $500 a month growing in my Roth for the next 30 years. So and then I got $15K essentially of my $20K DAC. So I'll be broke even in 2.5 years, and after that it's just gonna be essentially printing money for the rest of the time. So
Bucks money, I love it.
Mm-hmm. So just listed another one of those today. It's not even active yet, but I've already potentially got a cash offer. Somebody else wants to look at it. I mean, there's a huge demand for affordable housing.
Yep.
So essentially, you just make your payments right underneath what market rent would be, and then take a sizable down so that they have some skin in the game. It's like, well, you cannot pay me, and I'll foreclose on you, but where are you gonna go, right?
Right, lose that cash.
Yeah, it's cheaper for you to have a place to live. So. And we're going into some pretty gnarly neighborhoods and taking care of some problems for the neighbors, so they're all super pumped, Sure. So they're telling everyone, "Hey, call these guys. They'll give you a cash offer on your house, and they'll fix it up and make the neighborhood nice."
Yeah.
So that's been super fun. So I have a whole team called.
What's your most expensive property
that we bought?
Yeah.
So far, I bought one for. This one just closed a couple months ago. I bought it for $128,500. And there was a lot of room in this one, so I was just like, all right, well, let's go ahead and attempt to flip this one remotely, so I had to build a whole team and get all these contracts in there. I've never even seen the place and never stepped foot in it. I've only seen pictures, but it took a couple months to get it, rolling. There's a bunch of issues on it, and mid-rehab, I had someone contact me, and they're like, hey, they just want it right now. They don't care if you complete it, so I sold it to them as is without doing appliances or flooring and some other things at what I sell for $235. So
nice.
After doing some repairs, and netted $67,000 on that one. So I was like, oh, this works.
Yeah.
So continue to do that as much as I possibly can.
Are you doing any just wholesale deals, just pass?
Yeah, wholesale.
Selling
a lot of them I'm buying makes sense to capture notes on them. So
yeah.
I mean, I'm looking to build my investor list. So I need more cash buyers to come in and say, hey, I'll take this one down. And I mean, these some of these homes are huge cap rates. We could see 8, 10, 12, 15% caps on some of these. So they're great long-term rentals. They're great to offer a seller financing, or just great hotel or wholesale opportunities. So I've wholesaled a couple of them, but we're looking to build more investors in that area that want to take these down.
Yeah. So, are most of them in Mojave?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, we've done some in Maricopa. I've got one guy that bangs the phones full time. I have another virtual assistant that I hired now that's banging the phones half the day, and then I'm dropping mailers and bandit signs and doing a bunch of other stuff. So
yeah, I saw you posting the other day about your bandit sign.
Those things are working. People are kind of making fun of me in the beginning, like, oh, that's dumb, that's not gonna work. But I'll get calls all the time on that thing.
Yeah, I've got a buddy that does junk rescue.
Yeah,
and he swears.
Kyle, right?
Yeah,
yeah, he's a cool dude. Yeah,
he swears by his bandit signs.
I know.
Yeah, he's all about it.
Super old school, but it's just path of least resistance. They see it and they're like, yeah, I got a pile of junk I want removed. Call it.
Right. Well, and it's just so easy. I mean, you just drive around, and put out these signs at the end of every freeway or whatever, wherever you're putting them, and it's just and it's not like it's a huge expense marketing wise.
No, I mean $3 or $4 a sign,
Right.
And this, when you're out driving around, just have people sticking them in the ground, it's not a big deal at all.
Right. Yeah, and if those don't work out, then whatever. It wasn't a huge expense, but it seems like they're working. Obviously, people are still doing them.
It works. It works. You get in some high traffic areas. We actually talked. We were gonna do Stop Crying, Call Ryan on one of his one sign, and then he's gonna do Junk Rescue on the other, and half the cost. But we just haven't put that in motion yet. So. Do
you work with him on some of your projects?
No, we just been buddies for a long time. I knew him when he first started getting into the business. He was actually a realtor for a little while,
Yep.
and then he's like, it wasn't really him, I think he still has a real estate license, so I know he still sells some houses, but he really wanted to start his own deal.
Yeah.
So now he's got a bunch of trucks and
It's pretty cool. Yeah, he's grown a lot.
All kinds of cool
We actually had him on one of our first podcasts.
I think I had a little podcast going a long time ago, and I had him on there as well. So
yeah, it's just kind of cool to talk about how he's grown the business and
the
success he's had.
And he's super young dude, so I mean, he's taking on a lot of responsibility, but he's a really hard worker, so he deserves everything that comes his way, you know.
Yep. What are your predictions for the market?
I mean, I saw the rates today when I came in here. We're getting, rate alert locks like crazy. So, I mean, we're looking at, low to mid sevens right now in a 30-year fix. But like I said, there are options to get creative and buy your rates down and, those type of things. But I think this is what buyers have been waiting for the last 2 or 3 years. If they can understand some of these strategies and, some of the, fire selling that's going to be going on from these panic sellers. Yep. So I think there's going to be a big opportunity. I think it'll still be, similar to balanced. I don't think a lot of people are going to want to sell because they're sitting on, 2 or 3%, rates. They're like, I'm going to hold on. But yep. I see a big opportunity also in getting in creative on assumable mortgages. So I'm getting questions about this all the time. So technically, anyone with a VA, FHA, or USDA loan could be an assumable loan, you know? So if agents were smart, they'd be asking their sellers, what type of loan do you have on this property? And if it's one of the three, you could market it as an assumable loan.
Talk more about that because people probably aren't educated on what assumable loans are, and I think it's kind of wild that it's not more talked about right now in this market.
Right. It hasn't been talked about too much just because the rates are so low, and it hasn't really been a need to it. But over history, when the rates are higher and someone's been in their house for a while and they had a lower rate, it can make a lot of sense. So say a veteran bought a house, 2-3 years ago, and he got a 3% interest rate, so now the interest rates are 7.25%, 7.5%. So technically that veteran could have another veteran come up, and if he's able to qualify for the assumption, so basically you have to do a basic income, typical normal type qualification, but there's not a lot of cost or closing costs like it normally would be. It just has to go through the servicer. The servicer has to accept that assumption and make sure that buyer can qualify. So essentially, say somebody, was selling their house or has a loan balance of, $400,000. That guy could come and assume that loan for $400,000 and continue to move into that house, and then they could figure out something to do with the difference of payments. So if he was trying to sell it for $500,000, you just got to figure out those middle grounds of how to take those payments on. Yep. So this is great for people that, maybe have just sold another house and we're going to put some cash down anyways. You have a lot of negotiation power in coming in and saying, hey, I'll assume your mortgage. I'll give you the price that you want. Yep. And then you're off and locked in at, that 3%. And it doesn't restart at a 30-year term either. So if they've been in there for 5 years, you're going to have a 25-year term at, 3%. Yep. And so now we're starting to see some newer niche products come out on the non-QM side. So like second 30-year fix, up to 95% loan to value. That could be a piggyback second on top of a first assumable mortgage. So there's a huge opportunity there that, most realtors or people aren't even thinking about. So it's on my checklist of things to do to put some content together and start putting those videos out there, because those are the type of things that you're going to need to start educating yourself on and educating your sellers on and your buyers on. Yep. So I think about it. Say, there's a ton of houses for sale out there. You're listing yours for sale with assumable mortgage at 3%, right? You just got to figure out whatever the difference is. So you can pull cash from something else. You can put it down, take that second mortgage, whatever you need to do, and then get into the house, and you're good to go. Yeah. And then if rates do drop down again, you could always refinance the two together into one loan, whatever you like to do. But 30-year fixed second, it's not a horrible spot.
Right. Yeah, it seems like that's if rates keep kind of creeping up, it seems that should be a huge factor of whenever people are listing their property.
Huge competitive edge if you're a seller in any of those three type of mortgages and you're offering that. Yeah. But I haven't seen one single agent doing it. I've seen a couple call me lately, and I've been doing a lot of research on it lately and just telling them this is what you need to do. But at the end of the day, it's all up to the servicer and if they want to accept the assumption or not.
Do you know if any of them are right now?
They are. I mean, they always have over the years. Right. Now, when they see the rates are at 8 and they're in it at 3, I don't know. They may just want you to pay it off and take another one at 8.
Yeah, exactly.
But you never know.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, I feel like it's not talked about, and I feel like it's something that should definitely be coming back.
At least to try to do it, right?
Right.
So for some agents, we're starting to get the word out like, hey, we'll go ahead, we'll look at, make sure they get, pre-qualified traditionally, and then you can move forward with the, attempted assumption.
Yep.
And then if that doesn't work out, we got you, and we can still close just to make the seller cool with, potentially tying up the property.
Yeah. What are some other tips you're recommending to your agents right now?
I mean, everyone should be running buy-down calculators. Everyone should be, try to utilize max seller concessions versus necessarily getting, principal
reduced
prices, because they're way more bang for the buck for the potential buyer and seller. You can buy out your mortgage insurance up front. You can buy the rate down forever or temporarily. Those buy-down programs are cool, so say you're in a 2-1 buy-down and, it costs you $15,000 or whatever the case may be to do that. And, rates end up dropping below that point, or you do end up selling that property, that, $14,000 or $15,000 is kind of in an escrow account, and it'd be credited to your principal balance if you were to refinance or sell the property. So it's not being lost or going anywhere.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a forced savings account to, give you some payment relief in the first, year or two, which when you think about it, makes a lot of sense too. In the first year, there's a lot of, expense. So you got to turn on all the utilities, you have moving costs, you have to furnish the place, you might have to fix some of it up. So $300, $400, $600 a month in relief for that first year, and then maybe half that in the second year can go a long way in someone making their house livable or however they want it to be.
Yep.
It's just educating people on, hey, get off the news. It's not all doom and gloom out there. Houses are selling. They are selling quickly. And there's a lot of strategy, educate yourself. Run around telling everyone, hey, the rates are high, the market's crashing, this and that. I'm like, where is it crashing at,
Right. Well, yeah, it's every time I have somebody on here that says that we're in a balanced market, they just get berated on social media because they're, the market's crashing. Tell them to be honest. I'm like, well, they are actually. We're in a balanced market. If you look at the average median sales price, like last year over to this year, we're still up.
Right.
So it's like, okay, until that starts to actually shift and we start seeing that average go down, yes, there are some price decreases that are happening with listings, but it's not like they're taking a loss or going down to the sales prices they would have had to do last year. It's reduced compared to the all-time highs of people going 100,000 over asking price or whatever.
And most of the people saying that stuff are the, keyboard warriors living in their mom's basement that have never bought anything in their whole life, and they're just, comment on
every time someone comments that, it's just like a totally off-basis comment. I'm like, okay, I'm going to go look at this guy's profile. And it's like SpongeBob is his profile photo or whatever, and he has like no posts. You're like, all right, yeah, this guy's clearly the educated one telling us what's good.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, yeah, really pay attention to, listen to, make sure you're listening to someone that's in the trenches doing it every single day, I think for anyone looking to grow, depending on, if you're in the mortgage industry or real estate industry, you're going to have the time to pick up a lot of talent right now for super cheap, Yep. A lot of people scrambling, don't know what to do. There's a lot of fear out there. So if you provide a place for them to be educated and understand that they need to put in the work and, put forth the effort, then they can still be successful. It's just not going to be as easy as it is or it was the last couple of years, you know. Same thing with my team. I mean, we're running all, Commissions Inc. platforms, and we work with agents on Boomtown platforms and all those. And, there's just been, like, loans falling out of the sky to the fact that they can't take anymore. But now there's, like, hey, they're not falling out of the sky anymore. What do I do? I'm like, well, you got to start, like, picking up the phone and calling people every single day and prospecting and checking in on your database. And, it's all a data grab right now, too. So get in front of as many people as you possibly can when the rates do turn, you're obviously going to be able to refinance all those people and help them purchase. So, but, and also it's just really getting in front of the people that have to move. So people are always going to need to buy and sell. So, they're going to have job relocation. They're going to have deaths in the family. They're going to have divorce. They're going to, be in a condo or start having a baby. Like your family's growing, so they might need a bigger house, or, the kids are out of college now and I don't need this 5-bedroom house anymore. I want something smaller and I want to travel and have a lock and leave condo or whatever the case may be, So
there's always some change of familial status or whatever that's always going to take place.
So people are going to need to buy or sell regardless. So, Joe Blow speculating in his 3% interest rate might not buy, but there's people that need to. So it's just really changing your focus on, trying to get in front of those people. It's that old book, Who Moved My Cheese? I'm sure you've read that one, but it's super simple. It's the mice that, went to the same spot every single day. They
The cheese was there.
And then it got moved, and then the people that kept going to the same spot died, and the other ones that found the new cheese got fatter than ever. Know, so
I love that analogy. That's awesome. I actually just read that like maybe 4 or 5 months ago again, and it kind of breaks it down to you. It's like, okay, you got to be always changing, always adapting to new things, and if you just go back to the same pot, it's going to eventually dry up.
Yeah, it's not going to be there anymore. You're like, hey, I don't have any business. Well, what are you doing? Same thing I was the last 5 years. Well, you can't do that anymore.
It seems like there's like a new shift in the market just in terms of like the era of real estate agents and lenders and title people in the industry.
Right.
Like the older people are starting to kind of fade away, and you can't just be doing the same shit that you were doing.
No, you can't.
Be reinventing yourself.
It's a skill game now, so it's great to flush out all the amateurs. The people have no savings, they've been living on 1 or 2 deals here and there, they're gone. So
I actually say that I love this market that we're in now. To be honest, I tell everyone that I think it's awesome. It's a good opportunity for buyers. Maybe not the best time to sell if you're looking for crazy over asking price kind of offers and stuff, but if you are wanting to go buy or go into a new property, you could just rent out your current property and go buy a new property or whatever. There's just tons of options right now, as opposed to 6 months ago, a year ago. Everyone was getting squeezed and buyers were getting discouraged, and no concessions were being made, and there's just so many different factors where now it's like actually I think it's a good market, at least.
Totally. I mean, we're coming up into, mortgage and real estate renewal time periods, This year, I bet there's going to be a lot of loan officers that don't renew their license, or they start, everyone had 15 state licenses. Now they're dropping them all down to 1, and, hanging their license somewhere and getting another job and just doing a loan here and there, But if you're not in the game all the time, you're not going to know about all the strategy and things coming up, and it's just not good service to your clients either. You got to either be in or you're out. Part-time stuff doesn't work.
No, and like you said, I mean, it seems like every day I'm hearing now of like this company laid off this amount of people, this company laid off this amount of people, this company rolled up their doors or whatever.
Yeah.
It's kind of wild. So like right now you're definitely seeing who's gonna be able to kind of stick through the market and come out on top on the end.
Yeah, a lot of these big retail locations that have huge, glamorous offices, and ton of overhead and ton of people, they're in trouble, So if they have a bunch of, huge leases out there, it should be really interesting.
Yeah.
Could be a good time in the commercial market to pick up some office space on a deal, on some sort of fire sale sublease or something,
Yep.
You got to get our boy Corny in here to talk about that.
Right, seriously. Shout out Chris Corny, got to have you on, bud. Well, one thing I love about you, Ryan, is you're always kind of growing yourself. You're always improving. You're always kind of adding new things and kind of reinventing yourself all the time. What's kind of the future for Ryan? Where do you see yourself kind of in the next 5 years?
I think just keep grinding this mortgage business. Obviously you're paying attention to expenses and, overhead and, what, we should be spending our money on, and then figure out what's working, more than ever, and then doubling down on that. Luckily we've saved up a lot of things. I think there's going to be a ton of awesome opportunities in, picking up more investment properties or note conversions. So I'm hammering hard on this whole real estate investment business. Trying to create as much long-term passive income as I can. I'm happy to talk to anybody about that, or anyone wants to get on in these deals too, because I can't buy them all myself,
Yep.
It just gets too many. But continue to grow that, as hard as I possibly can. And I think it's really, inspiring the people around you. A lot of agents and loan officers, all they're focused on is their next commission, their next deal, and that's as far ahead they can see. And then they get it. They're like, okay, I got a good check. Now I'm just going to blow it all and then back off, and then I'm going to be struggling, again in a month or two. But It's really like, you guys need to be looking at real estate in a whole different way, So it's like, an agent, the last thing they should be doing is looking about how to list it. First, they should be, how can I buy this? How can I wholesale it? How can I flip it? How can I rehab it? How can I turn it into a rental? They should run down this huge list. How can I turn it into a seller finance note? And if it doesn't work on all those other options, it's like, all right, how can I list this thing? And if I'm going to list it, how can I double end it, right?
Yep.
So it's just changing people's frame on actually how to build wealth versus just capture a commission and, blow it. So you need some sort of cash machine, whether it's mortgage or, real estate, to fund your investments. But once it starts rolling, you fund more of your investments, and then you can really get free, and it really starts getting fun.
I think that's kind of what differentiates the great real estate agents from the okay agents is they actually understand that side of things, and even with their clients, they're looking into those things, and so that way they're ensuring that they're making a good purchase, as opposed to, like you said, just trying to collect a commission check.
Right.
Those that are educated on how to actually go in and rehab a property, or how to wholesale it or flip it or whatever they need to do, just having all those avenues that they could kind of talk to their clients about, I think just kind of sets them apart and really educates their clients on what's making a good buy is versus like, hey, yeah, you should buy that house. You like it? Yeah, buy it.
Right.
It's like, actually, I wouldn't buy that because it's backing to Shea.
Yeah.
And when you go to resell that, it's going to be a lot harder and like actually conveying value as opposed to just being like, yeah, let me open the door.
Exactly. And you should be asking more questions than ever if you're, someone looking to buy a house or get into the mortgage, get a loan, whatever the case may be. Ask those questions. How long have you been in the business? What kind of people are you working with? What kind of deals are you doing? And if they're not, running through all those different scenarios with you, though, then you should, potentially look out. But,
yeah. How did you come up with that offer price? Why are we offering that price? Are you actually running comps and stuff? Or are you just saying like, oh yeah, we should offer that price because the listing agent told me to, or whatever? Like, right now, it's so important to be educated in this market. Working with a good agent is imperative.
Or I want to buy a rental property or Airbnb. All right, what's the potential cap rate on this? How are you gonna make money? It's like running these numbers for them, through different calculators and such. And there's like, no, this doesn't make any sense to buy as a rental property. You're not going to make any money. Appreciation is the gravy on top, but you can't, base your purchase off that. You make all your money on the buy. So
I was just going to say that. Very nice.
Right.
Well, Ryan, for anyone who wants to get a hold of you, how can they reach you?
Yeah, on Instagram, you can find me at Ryan Mandley, RyanMandley. Phone number, you can always call me, text me, 480-203-6263. I'm happy to answer any questions on all things real estate related and put you in good hands.
Love it. Yep. Ryan Mandley, guys. He's just a phenomenal resource. Great guy. Make sure you reach out. Anything you need for the mortgage side or just real estate questions. And thank you again, Ryan.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Braydon, and appreciate you too, man. You're doing a lot of good things. Congratulations on getting the popularity of the show, and consistency is key. A lot of people try to start podcasts and then they do a couple and then bail out. I've been guilty of doing that before, because it's a lot of time, work, and commitment. But you're just starting to see the fruits and pay off. So keep it up, and I appreciate you having me on the show.
Well, thank you, man. I appreciate that. Shout out to Jesus in the behind the scenes then, because he's actually my consistency killer over here. So he's the man.
Good work, dude.
But yeah, thanks for sticking around for another episode of Break It Down with Braydon, and see you guys soon. More to come.
Thanks.